What's up guys, my name is Andre and in this video we're going to cover the high and low by weekday report on edgeful.com. So first off, we're looking at YM in the last 6 months in the New York session, and what this report measures is what weekday makes the high and low of the week. So let's look at this quickly. The way to look at this is, let's try to find a decent example here. Okay, so one thing to note is that this was a holiday, actually. This February 17th was a holiday, but if there was price action traded, it's going to be included. So this Monday is going to be included here in the calculation. So let's block off the start of the week and let's block off the end of the week. And then now let's look at what weekday made the highest point of the week and then the lowest point of the week right here. So I'm going to make this red, I'm going to make this green. And then now you can see only within these New York sessions, which I'm going to get to the other sessions in a second, but only within this New York session, Monday made the high and Friday made the low. So the standard report is going to measure all weeks, regardless of if they're red or green or where it opened, no matter what. There's two other variations here that we're going to cover in this video. So this here shows the highest high made in the week. And you can see that most often in the last 6 months, the highest point of the week is going to be on the Friday. So this is really important. If this week is probably, I'm assuming this week, if you assume that this week is going to be bullish, you want to target the highest point of the week to be on that Friday. Now, this does not mean the highest close of the week. That is another report that we have, which I'm going to get to. But if you are a swing trader for the week, you like to hold your positions for a couple of days. If you know that Tuesday does not typically make the high, then getting long, targeting a move up throughout the week is not a terrible idea based on the data here. Now, over here is the low of the week. So the lows of the week are also typically going to be made on the Friday. Now, the reason for this is that what seems to be the case is that the extremes tend to be at the beginning and the end of the week. So let me show you, if we filter here for the weekly candles, what we're doing is, like here was a red week, obviously. So when you go from the open of the New York session to the close of the New York session, obviously this was a red week. And then what you can see here is if we filter for only red weeks in the last 6 months, 80% of all of the lows of the week have been on that Friday, which falls perfectly in line with what happened here. And then here, 60% of the highs have been on the Monday, which is what happened here. So if you think that this week is going to be bearish, the high is most likely going to be made on the Monday and the low is most likely going to be made on the Friday. So if you're a swing trader and you're short in the beginning of the week and you expect this week to be red, you can really maximize this trade as price makes its lows later into the week. You don't have to, and based on the data, the low of the week is going to definitely be later. You can hold on to your winners and really maximize that winning position and close it later into the week on Thursday or Friday. Now, if we filter here for green weekly candles, it looks like the data is not as strong here, but it looks like to be inverted. So the highest point of the week is typically going to be made on the Thursday or the Friday, and the lowest is going to be made on the Monday. So expecting, I'm just going to flip this chart upside down, probably. Actually, here's a good example. So here's the Monday. You can see the low of the week is made here. The high of the week is made on the Thursday, right over there. And then now I'm going to make this red. And what you can see here is that on this week, the high, this was a green, this was a green candle. On the high here, that's on the Thursday. So that falls in line with this here. So important to note, what is your bias for the week and how is that going to impact where you think the highs and the lows are going to be? We also have a by close. So this is a variation of the highest high of the week, which is the standard. We have a by close. So this is the highest close of the week. So in this case, on this week here, it looks like Wednesday had the highest close because, again, we're going to the New York session, so it's roughly going to be right around here. And then Thursday and Friday closed below that. So we're looking at the session close here. And this is actually another great example, which I'm going to mark out for you, is that the low of the week was made down here. The low of the week was made over here. And then the high of the week was this. It was not this point. It's really, really important that you know that the high of the week is only within, it can only be the price action within the New York sessions. It can only be here. So this is completely ignored here. If you want to look at all of the price action, the complete Globex, everything, then you need to go to the daily session here. And let's switch back to the standard report. Then what you're going to be looking at is all of the price action across the board. So let's pretend that we're hiding this. Now we're looking at this entire session. Now, where would the high be for the daily session? Now we move it up here. And then the low is also going to remain the same. So looking at the session is extremely important because your highs and lows are going to change. The way that you need to think about these sessions is you are filtering out all of the data outside of the session you select. So now let's use London as an example. Let's put back on our indicator, the market sessions, and then let's look at the London session here. So now, your high of the week is this point because we're looking only within these green boxes. And you can see the high of the week is right here because that's the high made within the London session. Now, let's try to find another example. That's perfect. Okay. So let's mark out. This is the Friday. And then this is Monday. Great example here because your low of the week is not this point anymore because you're looking only at the London session. Your low of the week is here. And your high of the week is not going to be this high. It's going to be right over here. Now, if you were to switch to the New York session on this week, oh, it's not even. So yeah, even another great example. If you were to switch to the New York session, your low is this point, and then your high moves over here. So it's very important that you know what you're looking at. If you want to look at everything, you think that's more simple, then you should definitely use the daily session. Most people trade the New York session, but this is really helpful to understand. This is actually one of the ways that I really like to take advantage of it. This is a great example actually this week. So at this point, we know that it's very unlikely that Wednesday is going to be the high of the week, right? It's Tuesday and Wednesday, very unlikely to make the high of the week. Now, if this is all the price action we see, here is Monday's high, Tuesday's high, Wednesday's high. Wednesday's currently the high of the week. And we know based on the data, it's unlikely to remain the high of the week because it's less than 8% of the time in the last 6 months. Now, for me, that gives me a bullish bias on Thursday, expecting price to break Wednesday's high. So in this case, I want Thursday or Friday to break Wednesday's high. And what you can see here, opened below, broke Wednesday's high. Now, this gives you a very bullish bias here, especially it's a little bit nicer when it opens a little bit further away. But you can see price comes up to break Wednesday's high. And then now, the high of the week is no longer Wednesday. It's Thursday, which falls in line perfectly with these stats. Then typically you can also expect, after a move like this, you might not want to go for it again, but you can expect Friday to actually make that high and then reclaim Thursday's high again. But in this case, it didn't happen. This is a great way to use the report as a day trader and as a swing trader. Obviously, this is one way that you can use the report to position yourself for the rest of the week. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to our support. If this was helpful, please subscribe to the YouTube. It really helps us out. I hope this is helpful. Thank you for watching.